Welcome, listeners, to the Dark Space Station. Hey, Dark Space Station fans! If you've liked what you've seen and heard so far, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It's a big thing to ask on my part, but it really does help out the algorithm to know you'd like to listen to more. And also, don't be afraid to comment below. And as always, let's get on with the story. In the year 2123, humanity had reached a pinnacle of technological advancement. With the successful colonization of Mars and the establishment of thriving cities on its surface, the dreams of a multi-planetary existence had been realized. Yet, for every triumph, shadows lurked in the corners of space, waiting to consume the unwary. Aboard the small but reliable spacecraft Endeavour, Captain Leela Hart and her co-pilot Ellis Wu charted a course through the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Their mission was routine: deliver supplies to the colonists on Mars and return with data samples from the terraforming projects. But the vastness of space often held more than what met the eye. "Captain, I'm picking up an anomalous signal," Ellis said, eyes glued to his console, his brow furrowed in concentration, the glow of the screen casting shadows on his face. "It's faint, but it's definitely a distress beacon." "Coordinates?" Leela asked, her curiosity piqued. 2 degrees off our current trajectory, a few hundred kilometers ahead. It's coming from an old Earth ship. One of the original colony ships." Leela's heart raced. "The Horizon?" Ellis nodded. "Yes, the one that vanished without a trace over 50 years ago. They were meant to establish the first colony on Mars, but never made it. Do you know what this means? It could be monumental." Leela considered their options. They could continue their mission, but the pull of the unknown was strong. "Set a course for the signal. Let's see what we can find." As they approached the source of the signal, their ship's sensors showed a derelict vessel adrift in the void. The hull of the Horizon was battered and covered in space debris, a ghostly silhouette against the stars. Leela's stomach knotted. She felt an eerie sense of foreboding. "Prepare for docking," she ordered, her voice steady, despite the churning in her gut. Ellis obeyed, his hands deftly maneuvering the controls. Moments later, the Endeavour secured its clamps to the Horizon's airlock. They exchanged a glance, the weight of the moment settling heavily on them. "Ready?" Leela asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Ready as I'll ever be," Ellis replied, a hint of bravado in his tone. He initiated the airlock sequence. With a hiss, the doors opened, revealing a darkened corridor inside the Horizon. The stench of stale air and something else, something rotten, wafted out to greet them. Leela activated her helmet's flashlight, illuminating the passage ahead. "Stay close," she instructed, her heart pounding in her chest. They stepped inside, the airlock sealing shut behind them with a finality that sent chills down Leela's spine. The interior was a graveyard of memories. The walls were lined with peeling posters of Mars, advertisements for a bright new future, now faded and forgotten. Broken furniture lay strewn about. The dust covered every surface, a tangible reminder of the years that had passed since the crew had vanished. "Looks like no one's been here for a long time," Ellis said, his voice echoing in the silence. Leela nodded, but unease gnawed at her. "Let's see if we can find the bridge and get access to the ship's logs." As they moved deeper into the horizon, the flickering lights overhead cast eerie shadows that danced around them. They passed through the living quarters, once bustling with life, now eerily quiet. The remnants of personal belongings, clothes, photos, and toys, lay abandoned, as if the crew had left in a hurry. "Do you think they just abandoned ship?" Ellis asked, glancing at a child's drawing on the wall, depicting a smiling family on Mars. "Or worse, something happened," Leela replied, her voice low. "We need to keep moving." They finally reached the bridge, the door hanging ajar, creaking ominously as they pushed it open. The control panels were dark, screens cracked and flickering like dying stars. Leela hurried to the central terminal, her fingers dancing over the controls. "Come on. Come on." After several tense moments, the system whirled to life, displaying fragmented logs. Leela's heart sank as she read through the entries.
Crew reported strange noises in the night. Sightings of shadows in the hull. Increasing paranoia among the crew. Things went dark after that.
Leela felt a chill creep down her spine. "Ellis, we need to." The sound of metal scraping against metal echoed from behind them. They both turned, hearts racing. The door to the bridge slammed shut, plunging them into darkness. Leela cursed under her breath, fumbling for the flashlight. "Ellis!" she called, panic rising in her throat. "I'm here," he replied, his voice strained. "What was that?" Before Leela could respond, a low growl reverberated through the walls, sending vibrations through their bodies. The air thickened, and the lights flickered ominously. "We need to get out of here," Leela said, her voice trembling. She grasped Ellis' arm, and they rushed towards the door. But it wouldn't budge. "Damn it! It's locked!" Ellis shouted, pounding on the control panel. "Focus! We can override it," Leela said, trying to keep her composure. She turned back to the terminal, rapidly typing commands in, but the system resisted her attempts. The growling grew louder, echoing around them. Then a crash resonated from behind them, and they spun around to see a figure emerging from the shadows. It was humanoid, but twisted, its limbs elongated and sinewy, skin a sickly grey. Its eyes glowed with malevolent hunger. "Run!" Leela screamed. They bolted for the door, but the creature lunged its claws, slicing through the air. Leela barely dodged, grabbing Ellis's hand as they stumbled into the corridor. They sprinted down the darkened hall, the creature's growls echoing behind them. "Where do we go?" Ellis yelled, panic lacing his voice. "Back to the airlock," Leela shouted, leading the way. They rounded a corner as a cacophony of sounds followed, metal grinding, the creature's breath, their own frantic heartbeats. As they neared the airlock, Leela could hear the creature gaining on them. "We need to seal it," she urged. Ellis fumbled with the controls, his hands shaking. "It won't open. We need a manual override." Leela turned to face the corridor, taking a deep breath. "I'll hold it off. Just get the door open." "Are you crazy?" Ellis shouted. "I'm not leaving you here." "Just do it," Leela insisted, her voice firm. "I can slow it down. You have to survive." With a pained expression, Ellis nodded and turned back to the console. Leela faced the darkness as a creature emerged, its twisted form silhouetted against the flickering lights. "Come on, you!" Leela shouted, brandishing her flashlight as a weapon. The creature lunged at her, and she swung the light, hitting its face. It screeched, a sound that rattled Leela's bones. "Almost there," Ellis shouted, his hands flying over the controls. The creature recovered and lunged again, this time catching Leela by the leg. Pain shot through her as she fell to the ground. She struggled, kicking at the creature as it leaned closer, its rancid breath hot against her skin. "Leela!" Ellis screamed, pain fueling his actions. In a final desperate attempt, Leela grabbed a nearby metal pipe and swung it with all her might, hitting the creature's head. It recoiled, hissing in rage, but Leela could see it wasn't enough. She had to buy Ellis time. "Just go!" she yelled, tears streaming down her face. "No!" Ellis cried, but the airlock door hissed open, and he stumbled backwards, eyes wide in horror. "Just go!" Leela screamed again, her voice raw. With a final shove, Ellis turned and ran through the airlock, slamming the door shut behind him. Leela felt a surge of relief, but it was short-lived, as the creature snarled, turning its attention back to her. "Ellis!" she shouted. But he was gone. She was alone. The creature lunged again, and Leela swung the pipe one last time. But it was too late. The creature was upon her, dark claws sinking into her flesh as she screamed. Ellis pounded on the airlock door, sobbing as he tried to open it. He could hear Leela's screams muffled through the metal, the sound tearing at his heart. "Please, Leela!" he screamed, but there was no response. He staggered back, tears blurring his vision. Behind him, the control panel began to spark. He turned, realizing the ship was coming apart, the systems failing around him. He pressed the emergency release, and the airlock doors opened as he stepped out. The darkness of the horizon enveloped him, and he felt the weight of despair settle over him. He had lost his friend, his captain. With trembling hands, he activated the distress signal on the Endeavour, aware that it might be the last connection to humanity. As he gazed back at the derelict ship, a ghostly silhouette against the stars, he felt a chill run down his spine. He would never forget the horrors of the horizon, the echoes of the abyss that had claimed it. In the silence of space, the horizon drifted, its secrets locked away, waiting for the next unsuspecting crew to awaken the horror that lay within.